What did the F1 drivers fly to the Dutch Grand Prix? You're seconds away from finding out. Well, a good number of the F1 drivers flew privately into Amsterdam for the Dutch Grand Prix. So let's go to Thursday morning. The first driver to arrive was Oscar Piastri. He was with his trainer Kim Keedle, dressed very casually and doing a photo shoot as Oscar came down the stairs, and I would guess that would probably be for their sponsor. He was on a Raytheon Premier jet coming from London. Next up, Valtteri Bottas on a Cessna Citation Mustang from Zurich, followed shortly after by Mick Schumacher on a Pilatus PC24 from Geneva. Now, a lot of the drivers arriving came on their own in a jet. For instance here, Lando Norris on a Cessna Citation Jet CJ2+. And yes, he was coming from Nice, but at a different time to some of the other drivers. And you'll see that when we get to the planes that the drivers leave on, a number of them share planes. So when they arrive, they need to be at the track at different times for different things on their schedules, which is why they don't travel in such bigger groups arriving. And how do they go about booking a private flight like this? Well, they would typically call a company like IncyJets, which is a private charter operator. In fact, they arranged a flight for me earlier in the year going from Nice to Barcelona. It was an amazing experience, total luxury and so easy. All I did was tell them where I wanted to go and when I wanted to leave, and they gave me a number of options. Yes, it was seamless, and of course they adhere to the very highest safety standards. And get this, they can access nearly all of the world's airports, in fact 98% of them. And in terms of choices, you're spoiled because there's over 7,000 aircraft to choose from worldwide. Their whole business is built around flexibility and convenience, and that's what I loved about taking my private flight. And of course, if you're travelling private, you want to have someone to contact at any hour of the day. Good news, IncyJets is available 24/7. If your time is important, flying private with IncyJets is a real game changer. Is that an F1 driver? No, it's not. That's a seaplane here on Lake Como. But if you want to travel like an F1 driver in luxury on a private charter, get onto IncyJets now. I've put a link in the description below. Click on that and have a chat with the crew. I think you'll be delighted. Now, getting back to driver arrivals, Lance Stroll and his dad, Lawrence, on this, well, depends where you're from, Bombardier or Bombardier, Global 7500 from London, followed shortly after by the F1 Management Charter. A whole lot of F1 management on board this Embraer ERJ 170LR. Yes, once again coming from London. Oh, and where is this private terminal? It's about a 30-minute drive from the track, and when I go through the departures, you'll see a couple of personnel actually arrive back by copter. If you've seen any of my previous drivers flew videos, you'll know that Max Verstappen owns his own plane. This is it, the Dassault Falcon 900. He arrived from Cranfield in the UK. Maybe he was doing some work on the sim because of course he lives in Monaco. And he disembarked at a remote apron. They were the arrivals, now departing on Sunday night. And probably a couple of hours after the race finished, the first planes took off. And on board the first one was Jack Doohan. He's now flying private, getting a lift on Fernando Alonso's charter. And how do these guys get to know who's going and when? Well, there is a WhatsApp group for the drivers. From what I can tell, messages are put up saying, I'm going from here to here on this date, anyone care to join me? And if anyone says yes, I imagine they, the driver, or perhaps even the team, stumps up for their portion of that fare. So who else was on board that charter with Jack Doohan? Well, it was George Russell, also Fernando Alonso, Mark Webber. This man is Didier Cotton, he's Valtteri Bottas's manager. And they are on board a jet that Fernando has used previously. Registration is LXSCO, a Dassault Falcon 2000. And that was heading to Nice, the gateway for Monaco. And what is the flying time from Zandvoort, well, actually Schiphol, to Nice? About 95 minutes, according to this flight log. And just after them, we have the Williams racing team on an Embraer ERJ 135 heading back to London, where they were going back to make their decision on Logan Sargent. I can tell you, if you've been under a rock, Logan has been fired to be replaced by Argentinian driver Franco Colapinto. Now, the trip by road from the track to the airport would normally be about 30 minutes, although after the race it could be up to an hour and a bit. So a number of the key personnel flew by chopper. Here are Susie and Toto Wolff getting off an Airbus H135. This is a $6 million copter, US dollars that is, arriving from Zandvoort and then transferring to this Bombardier Global 6000. That's worth between $21 million and $62 million, but it does seat around 14 occupants, wealthy occupants. Oh, and here's the Red Bull Honda jet, which I've seen in previous years, but I didn't spot them in the video that I did from Belgium. Oh, at this point I need to thank Peter from F1 Private Jet Spotter. This is a YouTube channel, and Peter worked with me for this last video I did going back a few weeks ago in Belgium. And he will stand out at airports Wednesday afternoon, most of Thursday, and then Sunday nights, capturing vision of drivers coming and going. There's a link below in the description for his YouTube channel. While most of the drivers left from the main private terminal, Max actually left from a far section, a different apron, and this is his plane heading across to that different spot to pick him up, although it's too far away to get vision. Next up, Sergio Perez on a Bombardier Challenge 604. I've seen Checo on this plane before, and where was he heading? Well, to Portugal, to Cascais. Maybe for a few days R&R between that race and the one coming up if you're watching this on release, which is Monza. Christian Horner's travel was a mirror image of his departure from Liège. After the Belgian Grand Prix, he was on board the same aircraft, a Bombardier Challenger 3500, and he was heading back to Oxford, where he, of course, has a lovely property. Now, Esteban Ocon was flying private, and with him is this gentleman, Gwen Legru. Gwen is the man in charge of the Mercedes Junior program, and has actually worked with Esteban Ocon, and at the moment is working closely guiding Kimi Antonelli to perhaps greatness. I think we'll probably see him in that Mercedes next year. But then again, I've been wrong before, but I certainly would be putting some money on Kimi at Mercedes next year. The McLaren team also travel in luxury and style on board a Bombardier Global 6000 with Zach Brown along with a number of other high-ranking McLareners heading back to London. Not so for his winning driver, Lando Norris. He joined Alex Albon and Oscar Piastri on a Cessna Citation Jet CJ2 bound for Nice, and some gorgeous weather, no doubt. Perhaps as gorgeous as what I've got today, looking out here over Lake Como. This is very special. And on board this private jet was Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, a Bombardier Challenger 350 bound for Nice. They flew separately to the Ferrari team, heading back to Bologna on a Cessna Citation XLS. I think that's the jet that I went on my trip with InsyJets going back to May this year. I loved it. And that's the full roundup of what the drivers flew to and from the Dutch Grand Prix. Wouldn't you love to be an F1 driver flying private? It is such an amazing experience. No having to queue in the terminal, no having to encounter hundreds and hundreds of people or security checks. Pretty much just driven straight to the plane and on you get. Before you go though, one thing, two actually. Could you please subscribe? Some of you aren't, and there's no reason for that. And if you can't subscribe, please, at the very least, hit the like button. Remember, you can check out all my other content over here, and thank you to this beautiful restaurant for letting me record what the drivers flew right on the shores of Lake Como. Thanks for watching, and stay passionate. Jesus Christ.